I'm glad to have you back. You're watching Daybreak here on the Rise News, and it's time for the press preview. A first look on what's on the front pages as they arrive. Well, we'll begin with our sister publication this day, the newspaper of records, and it's leading with no controversy on who becomes next Olubadan, say Ibadan High Chiefs. Declare new king will be chosen based on tradition, or your Attorney General advises Makinde, who's the governor, against the appointment of new Oba. Jonathan Sanwo-Olu Anyim mourn late monarch. And just above that story, President Buhari says tougher, true and irreplaceable nationalist, ex-presidential candidates buried in between parents' graves, Atiku, Ganduje, Buni, mourn. And above the masthead this morning, federal government commences collection of income tax on bonds, short-term securities from today. And stockbrokers expresses divergent view of a new policy. Let's take one last headline on the front page there. Buhari, Tinubu felicitate with Bolaji Akinyemi at 80.
Quick look at the Nation newspaper now. Olubadan, Ibadan chiefs disagree over succession. Ban, Twitter meets conditions set to reopen to citizens. And OPEC worried over threat to release 70 million barrels from reserves. At the top, Buhari governors, Arewa Consultative Forum, others mourn Bashir Tofa. Lagos Red-Blue Rail Line project still on course.
The Punch this morning, New Year's celebrations, experts project high infection rate as Nigerians shun protocols at fun spots, uncontrolled crowds at beaches and others to fuel community transmission, that's according to experts, and recovery rate drops by 73.2%. The NCDC distributes 400,000 COVID-19 testing kits. Also on the front page, Lagos train service will begin this year. And Customs and Immigration and 13 others failed to remit 127 billion naira. That's according to an audit report. And the World Bank says Nigeria's debt vulnerable and costly.
Well, here's the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. It's splashing its front page with 15 governors to watch in 2022 in Nigeria. Pick a copy of why the Nigerian Tribune has highlighted these 15 governors to watch out for. But some other stories on the front page here. APC convention, Governors Forum, DG faults Kalu's calls for postponement, and impact of cash crunch on economy worse than COVID-19. That's according to Afe Papalola, as experts set agenda for economic growth development in 2022.
On the international scene now, the Daily Mirror, secret deal to silence Andrew accuser. The Prince claims £370,000 gag signed by Virgin Jeffrey will save him from civil trial.
The Independent this morning revealed deal says Andrew hopes will stop legal case. Accuser agreed not to sue potential defendants in settlement, and also PM sticks to Plan B COVID restrictions.
The Guardian is leading on multiple NHS trusts across England declaring critical incidents as COVID staff shortages hit.
In the Financial Times, Apple becomes first company to rack up market value of $3 trillion, and at the bottom, economic recovery faced with burning of political disarray and Brexit friction.
The Daily Express this morning, Boris, we're on right path to beat virus, but PM warns absolute folly to say pandemic ending, but Omicron plainly milder.
And the Eye is focusing on NHS leaders warning Prime Minister Boris Johnson over growing COVID staffing crisis.
Well, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello. Good morning, Emmanuel. Great to see you today. We kickstart again with this day newspaper. Buhari, Tofa, true and irreplaceable nationalist. That's the ex-presidential candidate who's passed on. Emmanuel, back when President Buhari declared June 12 a national holiday to mark Democracy Day, Bashir Tofa objected to it. Also, when the president honored Abiola with the late Abiola with Nigeria's highest honor, he also objected to it. But The president is here calling him a true and irreplaceable nationalist. He wasn't a fan of the president till death, was he?
Good morning, Kenneth. Well, the story of Bashir Tofa, it's an open one that everyone is, familiar with. His place in history, and the fact that at the time that, Abiola was a very popular presidential candidate, he ran against him and never really actually accepted those results. And of course, it was elections was annulled by Babangida. So. Certainly his death will bring back memories of those situations and some of the things you just mentioned. But of course, they don't speak ill of the dead like it said. So, of course, all sort of people will say beautiful things about Bashir Tofa, his place, not only as a politician, but also as an Islamic scholar, also a form of writer and a businessman. So those are the things people want to also play up and leave the controversies aside. So it's expected that yes, people will, will say nice things now. But of course, yes, some of this controversy and some of the things that his critics would never accepted about his life and time, of course, will also come up now as the discussion goes on. But for now, the best that anyone can do is what I think the president and all the other commentators are saying, talking about the life and times of Alhaji Bashir Tofa, his place in history, and praying for the repose of his soul. Those are just the right thing to do at this moment, and then leave some of those things to historians to ponder about.
Now, Emmanuel, let's move on to the Punch this morning. Basically, the main story, New Year's celebrations. They talk about experts project high infection rate as Nigerians shun protocols at fun spots, talking about the recovery rate of COVID has dropped by 73.2%, and the NCDC distributes 400,000 COVID-19 testing kits. Surely 400,000 testing kits is absolutely nothing with a population the size of Nigeria, and we can talk about protocols at fun spots. I've witnessed some New Year's events myself where social distancing went out the window, but surely the key subject here is vaccines.
Yeah, and I think it's an important thing to talk about, and the Punch newspaper jumping on it immediately after the holidays, and looking at how, of course, those restrictions, those curbs were not respected by people, people staying out late in crowded places, and looking at how this will affect, the recovery profile of the COVID crisis in the country. So it's a good story, it's an interesting story, but it also calls for authorities now to either put stiffer measures in place to see what can be done about it. But after the festivities, it's a good thing that yes, the paper is focusing on what will be the crisis, the condition of the crisis itself at this point. We're still dealing with this issue, not just here, but elsewhere in the world.
Well, Emmanuel, let's look at Nigerian Tribune, which is gracing its front page this morning with pictures of 15 governors of the 36 states in Nigeria. And it says these are the governors to watch out for in 2022. I wonder if you know why any of these names have made it to the front page this morning. I wish I could run through, but I guess viewers can see some of those names on the front page this morning.
No, I can see them, and it's a good story. It's the start of the year, and so the paper is looking at these governors. If you look at some of the big names there, some of this, there are people in the governors that's made into the news, especially last year. You have Zulum there, who is the first picture there. Zulum of Borno State has been doing quite a lot. He's been in the news for all sorts of beautiful things. He's the governor you see, with jeans and t-shirts, actually running around the places, doing commissioning things, and in Borno State of all places with all the crisis there. He's imagined. In fact, the other day he had to actually scream out that, look, stop comparing me to other governors. They have their unique situations. I'm just trying to do my best. So there seem to be some of these governors that really, that really stand out. are doing their best and trying to, actually actualize their mandate, and they're making it to the news. So the Tribune is saying that in 2022 we have to watch out and look at these governors more closely, because we should be expecting more from them, more dramas, more outing, more commissioning of projects. So yes, these are the governors, and they made quite a lot of noise in 2022, whether it's in the political sphere or in what they're doing in their state. There's Wike, another newsmaker who was doing a whole lot. A lot of people hailing his work in the areas of building flyovers and also linking communities and doing a whole lot of work in River State. Then you have Umahi, who a lot of people say is turning backwater Ebonyi State in the past into some form of a place to really be. So each one of them have got something to be said. They're proving their worth and trying to do the right thing. So I think the paper is trying to say, look, let's watch out for these governors, and especially now that we are on the eve of a transition. What will be their role? What would they want to do? What's their ambition? What are they saying? It will be very important that we focus on what they're doing this year.
Indeed, Emmanuel Bello. And speaking of governors to watch out for, away from the papers this time, one of the governors you mentioned, Governor Nyesom Wike, has it out for the presidency. And he was speaking earlier in Enugu State. If we can have that clip play for a few seconds, and we can get to a conversation on his comments.
When he was signing the budget, Mr. President said this budget is unimplementable. And Mr. President went and signed something that's unimplementable. Che, Presido. You know this thing is unimplementable. He went and signed it. A budget that will determine the economy, the progress of this nation. And Mr. President knew this thing can work. He signed it. Then the letter act, he said he won't sign because direct primary will be too expensive. What do you concern me and party primary?
Well, you heard the comments there, Emmanuel. Of course, Governor Wike is on the front page of the Tribune as one of the governors to watch in 2022. Your comments?
Well, yeah, I mentioned him too, and yes, he's a colorful figure. And last year, a lot of controversies around the things he's saying. But you can't take something away from him. You can't take away his developmental stride in River State. So you might say that Wike has got bragging rights, and of course, people will be watching to see whether he's going to make that appeal at the national stage. So if he's going to run for president, for instance, what connections, what reach out is he making to the other parts? He's done well. Some people will say he's done very well in River State. His critics, of course, are still on the subject of his style and his manner of speaking. But beyond that, some people will point to concrete things that Wike has done. And now what remains for him is whether he's able to sell that persona across the nation. What is his national appeal? What is his reach? Who are his allies elsewhere in the country? What bridges is he building across? And what about his style? People have actually pointed to that in the past. But by and large, there are people who give him some good marks, and that he's got bragging rights and to say some of the things he say all the time.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Emmanuel, for all of your analysis this morning. Obviously, we'll see you at the same time tomorrow. That was the press preview here on Daybreak.